Welcome. Thank you for coming here. I hope those that are not here are in the other room with my colleague Jakub. But anyway, so as you can notice that the title is different than what you have in the agenda, and I think I have to explain. As it was mentioned, I'm a consultant, I'm a trainer, I'm a PhD with Scrum.org, and as such, I get to see quite a few companies. Sometimes I see them in person, sometimes people come to the classes and tell stories about their workplace. And you can't help but start noticing certain patterns. And some of those patterns that I noticed was that some of the aspects of transformations are missing, of Agile transformations. But then I realized that what the companies are after is not actually Agile transformations or Agile as such, but the companies right now, they either undertake Agile transformations if they didn't already, or they try to make the existing Agile better in their company because they are facing competition and disruption. The digital technologies are disrupting the markets. Most traditional companies have been built around vertical value chains. Those value chains are becoming disjoint. They are being attacked by nimble competitors, many of whom proclaim to be Agile. So the leadership of those large companies, they also want to be Agile. And they undertake Agile transformations to get what I would call business agility. So ability to quickly react, respond to the market. Now, if you remember Martin's talk and Jeff's talk from the morning, they were both giving examples of very, very quick reactions that the companies had for needs or complaints of their clients and users, and companies undertaking transformations or wanting that. This is what they also wanted to be able to do. Now, if you look at it, you can isolate, or you can have like 4 aspects of it. You need 4 aspects of it in order to be able to react this quickly. So first is the organization, the structures, processes, Scrum teams, and Scrum as such as a method, or Kanban, or Scrumban, or Shape Up, or whatever the Agile method it is that you use. You probably need some different description of roles, and career paths have to be redefined, etc. You need a culture that is kind of different. There's a different level of commitment, for example. There's transparency. There's this habit of telling the truth about the situation, about the product, about the market. You need to think about products completely differently. And I'm not going to talk more about that because Jeff Gotthold did that in the morning. That is this concept of sense as response, this concept that the product is an entity that exists for a long time, and you just tend for it, keep it in sync with the market. And the technology that allows you to do also helps you by bringing back data that you can work on. And finally, you need technology. You need technology, starting with fundamental developer skills, starting even with basic tools for the developers, like developers' workstation and basic tools they have on it, environments, repositories. And again, Martin, before the break, was talking at length about what Microsoft did here. Much of what they did was related directly to technology. Now, I'm not going to get in depth into all the aspects because that probably would take too much time, and I have like 10 minutes left. But what I'm noticing, what I'm hearing from people is that there is lots of concentration on this aspect, on organizational stuff, on forming Scrum teams, on naming Scrum masters, then creating a career path to an Agile coach, and then naming the teams differently, and maybe even disrupting the silos a bit, creating like a space in the organization where you can have a different set of rules, stuff like that. This is what is mostly talked about on the conferences, on meetups. Those are methods, maybe practices. Scrum is a framework, so you have to put practices inside, like how we do retrospectives, for example. It's a topic, and there's lots of emphasis on this. If organizations embark on an Agile transformation, they usually seek these kind of services, help, and knowledge. Some are wise enough to understand that the culture also has to change. So far, what I'm seeing is that mostly that is being declared, but not necessarily practiced. Sometimes in some organizations that gradually happens within the teams and around them. But for the most part, most organizations that claim to be Agile are still quite a way off from being able to actually transparently know what the state of their product is, what the strategy is, and also working on deeper commitment. There is still this assumption that the commitment comes from the job contract, and you are here because you have the job. And that's slowly going away, but still, there is some work around that. Some organizations are even wise enough to understand that if you want Agile teams, you have to put them together, and even the space have to be designed differently. And it's a different philosophy that doesn't take billions of dollars like it did for Microsoft, but you have to take care of it. Now, what I find is lacking is the technology part, surprisingly. So we have an organization, and it has Scrum teams, and it has Agile coaches, and it even has a whole group of Agile coaches in-house, and it has nicely laid out development rooms for teams. However, developers get like 4 gigs of RAM. Their computer is very slow. They have no repository whatsoever. It's just like 2 weeks ago I learned that one of quite big companies that has an office here in Warsaw, they are working on something and they have no repository for it. I didn't think it's possible in 2019. I had to check my watch, but the guy assured me it's true, so who am I to doubt that? And even if there are repositories, they are in poor shape. I just encountered people from a company we worked with years ago. They had a piece of software that had 58 unmergeable branches, each of which was deployed somewhere. And I asked them, how are they doing? Because it was like 5 years have passed. And the guy said, well, it's worse now. I cannot imagine how that could be worse. But still, I mean, you can have all kinds of culture, and you can have people embracing one another, hugging and singing happy songs, and being in Scrum meetups and whatever. But if their computers don't work, they don't have a working repository, then they don't have an automated test system and everything that they actually need to deliver, it won't work. Jeff in the morning said that the act of releasing software is a non-event. I would say it is a non-event only after it has been made to be a non-event on the technical level. It's a heroic achievement for the team, pulling all-nighters to actually release something working, then it is an event. But if that's the situation at your company, you are nowhere near what Jeff talked about, because you are not able to release often enough and adapt often enough to actually take the information from the market and process it in a meaningful way. So I still find it surprising that in 2019 someone can work on a major piece of software without a repository of whatsoever, or using CVS, by the way. Who uses CVS? I still remember when we abandoned it as an old technology in 2006. But anyway, fourth aspect, products. Even if in some companies there is some discussion of technology, I even came across a company where the geeks that were running the tech department, they believed you can get agility by just, installing some software. And I'm not talking about Jira, but installing some software package that will allow them to do unit tests faster. And it's worthwhile, but they didn't have these structures, and they didn't have Scrum teams really, and the culture was awful. It was a culture of backstabbing and not telling the truth. So obviously the tools didn't work, and they didn't know why. Right? So overemphasizing on technology is not a good. It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. However, most organizations they overemphasize the top aspects, the organization and culture. And I'm still to see an organization that is undergoing the agile transformation to actually start to think about products in a different way. To start to think about products as long-term entities, persistent entities that you then use to sense and respond to the market, to use Jeff's phrase. I still see projects. Many project managers all of them have this idea that delivering on time within blah, 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 that's the success. This mindset that doesn't work anymore. There is very little to change that, unfortunately. So even if we have structures and we have pretty good developers and we have automated testing, actually we can release often. The business's answer to that is, so what? Just make projects faster. And it's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you anywhere. So my message, and that's why I'm occupying 15 minutes of your life, is that you actually, if you are a manager, a CEO, CIO, whoever, who undertakes this idea that we can be agile, you must be mindful of all 4 aspects and keep them in balance. You cannot concentrate just on the structures or just on culture. It's not going to work. And probably you can't do that on your own, because each of those aspects is a discipline in its own right, with its own body of knowledge, books, conferences, trainings, etc. So you need a team. And I'm not talking about development team, teams or team. I'm talking about the management team. Or maybe about people who are helping you, like consultants. They should be able, maybe not in one person, but as a team, they should have knowledge in all 4 disciplines to actually help and assist you. So I don't know how many people who actually have any power to decide how their transformation or change is going in their organizations, but even if you aren't such a person, you can go back to your company and talk to them, or talk to someone who can talk to them about this. Because you are not going to have business agility, digital transformation, whatever you call it, without addressing all 4. Because it's, as I said, I would be reiterating myself, but it's worth recapping. If you are releasing often, but it's not what clients want, you are not getting anywhere. And you can't do that without proper Agile. You can't do that without good Scrum teams and without good culture. You have to have all 4, right? That's it. So just to leave you with some key takeaways that you can have a look at. Be mindful of it. Know that there are all the aspects and they must be kept in balance. It's difficult to do it on your own. You can't be expert on all 4, so you need a more diverse team supporting the change process if you have it, or supporting the practices if you feel your change is already behind you, which is a brave thing to say. And finally, if you seek outside help, look for consultants that can understand and assist in all 4 areas. Okay, that's it. Thank you.